The millionaire came home 2 days early from his business trip. He wanted to surprise his pregnant wife and spend time with her before the baby came. But what he saw when he walked through his front door that afternoon would change his life forever. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? New York? London? Maybe Canada or Jamaica? We want to know. Benjamin Carter owned 3 successful computer stores in the city. He had worked hard for 15 years to build his business, and now he was a millionaire. People respected him. They called him Mr. Carter and shook his hand at business meetings. But Benjamin's success came with a price. His office was downtown in a tall glass building. He left home before sunrise most mornings. He came back late at night when the city lights were already twinkling like stars. Benjamin lived in a beautiful house with tall white columns and a long driveway. Inside, everything was perfect. Expensive furniture, clean floors, paintings on the walls. But lately the house felt too quiet, too big, too empty. His wife, Deborah, was 8 months pregnant. Her belly was round and heavy. She moved slowly now, holding her back as she walked. The baby would come in just a few weeks. Deborah was a teacher at Lincoln Elementary School. She taught 2nd grade. The children loved her because she was patient and kind. She read them stories with funny voices and drew pictures on the chalkboard to help them learn. Before she got pregnant, Deborah would come home from school with stories about her students. She would laugh and tell Benjamin about the silly things they said. But lately she had become very quiet. She smiled less. At dinner she barely ate. "Are you feeling okay?" Benjamin would ask. "Just tired," Deborah would say softly. "The baby's getting heavy." Benjamin believed her. He thought pregnancy was just hard on women's bodies. He didn't know there was something else making his wife sad. Marina was the housekeeper who worked in Benjamin's home. She had been there for 3 years. She cleaned the rooms, cooked meals, and did the laundry. Marina was 40 years old, with kind brown eyes and hands that were rough from years of hard work. Marina cared about Deborah. She would bring her cold water when it was hot outside. She made special soups to help Deborah feel strong. Sometimes, when Deborah looked especially tired, Marina would sit with her and rub her swollen feet. But Marina had a secret. A heavy, terrible secret that made her stomach hurt every single day. She knew what was really making Deborah sad. Benjamin's mother, Naomi Carter, was a tall, elegant woman who always dressed in expensive clothes. She wore pearls around her neck and carried a fancy leather purse. Her hair was styled perfectly, and her shoes always matched her dress. Everyone in the family respected Naomi. She had raised Benjamin all by herself after his father died when Benjamin was just 7 years old. Back then they were poor. Naomi worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at night and selling clothes during the day, so Benjamin could go to a good school. "I gave up everything for you," Naomi would tell Benjamin. "I never remarried. I never had fun. I worked every single day so you could have a better life." Benjamin never forgot this. He loved his mother and felt he owed her everything. When Benjamin married Deborah 2 years ago, Naomi smiled at the wedding. She hugged Deborah and said, "Welcome to the family." But her eyes were cold. Naomi didn't think Deborah was good enough for her son. Deborah came from a poor family. Her parents lived in a small apartment across town. Deborah didn't have fancy clothes or expensive jewelry. She was just a simple schoolteacher. Naomi wanted Benjamin to marry someone rich and important. Someone from a powerful family. But Benjamin chose Deborah because he loved her gentle heart. Naomi never said these thoughts out loud, at least not when Benjamin was around. But when Benjamin went away on business trips, Naomi would visit the house. She had her own key. She would walk in without knocking and find Deborah alone. That's when everything changed. The first time it happened was 6 months ago. Benjamin had left for a 3-day trip to another city. The morning after he left, Naomi's silver car pulled into the driveway. Marina was upstairs making the beds when she heard shouting. She crept to the top of the stairs and peeked down. Naomi was standing in front of Deborah, her finger pointing like a knife. "You trapped my son," Naomi shouted. "You got pregnant on purpose." "That's not true," Deborah said quietly, tears running down her face. "Benjamin and I both wanted a baby." "Liar. You're from a poor family. You saw a rich man and you grabbed him." Deborah tried to walk away, but Naomi grabbed her wrist hard. "Don't you dare walk away from me." Marina wanted to run downstairs and help Deborah. But she was scared. She had 3 children at home who needed the money she earned. If she made Naomi angry, she might lose her job. So Marina stayed hidden and watched, feeling sick inside. After that day, it happened again and again. Every time Benjamin traveled for work, Naomi would come. And every time it got worse. Naomi would say terrible things. That baby probably isn't even Benjamin's. You're not smart enough to be in this family. When that baby is born, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are. Sometimes Naomi would grab Deborah's arms so hard that red marks appeared. Once, she pushed Deborah and Deborah fell against the kitchen counter. Marina rushed to help her, but Deborah begged her not to tell Benjamin. Please, Marina, Deborah whispered through her tears. If Benjamin finds out, he'll have to choose between me and his mother. I can't do that to him. She's all he has. She raised him alone. I can't take her away from him. Marina felt terrible. She wanted to tell Benjamin the truth. But she also understood why Deborah stayed silent. Deborah loved Benjamin so much that she was willing to suffer in secret to protect him. So Marina kept the secret too. She watched. She remembered everything. And she waited, hoping that somehow, someday the truth would come out. One Thursday morning, Benjamin sat in a hotel conference room 300 miles from home. He was supposed to be listening to a business presentation, but he couldn't focus. He had called Deborah that morning before the meeting started. Hello. Deborah's voice sounded small and scared. Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling today? I'm okay. Just tired. Are you sure? You sound sad. I'm fine, Benjamin. Really? When are you coming home? Saturday evening. Just 2 more days. There was a long silence. Deborah? Are you still there? Yes, I'm here. I love you, Benjamin. I love you too. Get some rest, okay? After the call ended, Benjamin stared at his phone. Something was wrong. Deborah had been sounding like this for months now, sad, scared, tired. She said it was just the pregnancy, but Benjamin's heart told him it was something more. At lunchtime, his business partner James walked over to him. Hey Ben. Good news. The deal's finished early. We don't need to stay the extra 2 days. Want to head home? Benjamin's face lit up for the first time all week. Really? We can leave today. Sure. I'm tired anyway. Let's get out of here. Benjamin almost called Deborah to tell her the good news. But then he stopped. An idea formed in his mind. What if he surprised her instead? He could stop at that flower shop she loved and buy yellow roses, her favorite. He could pick up chocolate cake from the bakery on Oak Street. He could walk through the front door and see her smile. Maybe a surprise would cheer her up. Maybe it would make her happy again. Benjamin packed his suitcase as fast as he could. He checked out of the hotel, drove to the airport, and got on the next flight home. 4 hours later, the plane landed. Benjamin got his car from the airport parking lot and drove toward home. He stopped at the flower shop and bought a big bouquet of yellow roses. He stopped at the bakery and bought Deborah's favorite chocolate cake. As he drove down his street, the sun was beginning to set. The sky was orange and pink. Benjamin smiled. He couldn't wait to see the look on Deborah's face. But when he turned into his driveway, he saw a silver car parked near the front door. His mother's car. Benjamin frowned. Why was his mother here? She knew he was away on a trip. She usually only visited when he was home. He parked his car and got out, holding the flowers and the cake. As he walked toward the front door, he heard something that made his blood turn cold. Shouting. His mother's voice, loud and angry. And then another sound, crying. Deborah was crying. Benjamin dropped the cake. The box hit the ground and broke open. But he didn't care. He ran to the front door, his heart pounding in his chest. He pushed the door open. And what he saw made him freeze in shock. Benjamin stood in the doorway, unable to move. His mouth fell open. The flowers in his hand dropped to the floor. In the middle of the living room stood his mother, Naomi. Her face was red with anger. Her hand was raised in the air, pointing at someone. That someone was Deborah. Deborah was on her knees on the floor. Her hair was wet and messy. Water dripped down her face and onto her dress. Her pregnant belly looked huge as she knelt there. She was shaking and crying, her arms wrapped around herself. On the white carpet next to her was an empty glass. Water was spilled everywhere, making a dark stain on the expensive rug. You worthless girl. Naomi was shouting. You think you can trick my son? You think I don't know what you're doing? Deborah looked up, and that's when she saw Benjamin standing in the doorway. Her eyes went wide with fear. Not relief. Not happiness. Fear. Benjamin? She whispered. Naomi spun around. When she saw her son, her angry face suddenly changed. She smiled, but it looked fake and wrong. Benjamin. Darling. You're home early. I was just. What is going on here? Benjamin's voice came out low and dangerous. He had never used that tone before. Not with his mother. Not with anyone. He walked into the room slowly, his eyes moving from his mother to his wife. He saw the water on the floor. He saw Deborah's wet dress. He saw the red marks on Deborah's wrists where someone had grabbed her. I asked you a question, Mother. What is going on? Naomi laughed nervously. Oh, Benjamin, it's nothing. Deborah and I were just talking. She spilled some water and I was helping her clean up. That's a lie. The voice came from the hallway. Everyone turned. Marina stood there, her hands trembling but her eyes fierce. Marina. Naomi's voice turned sharp. Go back to the kitchen. This is none of your business. No, Marina said, stepping forward. I can't stay quiet anymore. Mr. Benjamin, your mother is lying. Benjamin looked at Marina. What do you mean? Marina took a deep breath. Mrs. Naomi comes here every time you go away on trips. She hurts Mrs. Deborah. She says terrible things. She grabs her and pushes her. Today, she threw that glass of water in Mrs. Deborah's face and made her get on her knees. The room went completely silent. Benjamin felt like the floor was disappearing under his feet. He looked at his mother. Is this true? Naomi's face turned dark red. How dare you believe a servant over your own mother? I raised you. I gave up everything for you. And this is how you treat me. Answer the question, Benjamin said. His voice was shaking now. Is it true? Instead of answering, Naomi turned to Deborah. Tell him. Tell him I didn't do anything. Tell him you're lying. Deborah just sat there on the floor, crying harder. Benjamin walked over to his wife. He knelt down beside her, ignoring the water soaking into his expensive pants. Gently he took her hands in his. That's when he saw the red marks on her wrists, finger marks like someone had grabbed her very hard. Deborah, he said softly. Look at me. Slowly Deborah raised her head. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Tell me the truth, Benjamin said. Has my mother been hurting you? For a long moment, Deborah said nothing. Then finally she nodded. Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. How long? Benjamin asked. 6 months, Deborah whispered. Since I told you I was pregnant. Benjamin felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. 6 months. 6 whole months, his mother had been coming to his house and hurting his wife. And he had no idea. He stood up and turned to face his mother. Naomi had never seen Benjamin look at her like that before. His face was cold and hard. Get out of my house, he said. Benjamin, please. Get my house. You don't understand. That girl is trying to. Now. Benjamin shouted so loud that even Marina jumped. Naomi's mouth snapped shut. She grabbed her fancy purse from the couch. As she walked toward the door, she stopped and looked back at Benjamin. You're making a terrible mistake, she said, her voice cold. You'll regret choosing her over me. I'm your mother. Blood is blood, Benjamin. You'll see. You'll come back to me, and when you do, I won't forget this. If you ever come near my wife again, Benjamin said quietly, I will call the police. Do you understand me? Naomi's eyes filled with tears, but they were angry tears, not sad ones. She turned and walked out the door. A moment later, they heard her car engine start and the sound of tires on the driveway as she drove away. The house was quiet except for Deborah's soft crying. Benjamin knelt down again and carefully helped Deborah stand up. Her legs were shaking. He held her close, supporting her weight. I'm sorry, Deborah sobbed against his chest. I'm so sorry. I should have told you. I didn't want you to have to choose. She's your mother. She raised you alone. I couldn't ask you to pick between us. Shoo, Benjamin whispered, stroking her wet hair. You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. Do you hear me? He looked over at Marina, who was still standing in the hallway crying quietly. Marina, he said. Thank you for telling me the truth. I know that was hard. Marina wiped her eyes with her apron. I should have told you sooner, Mr. Benjamin. I'm sorry. I was scared. It's not your fault, Benjamin said. None of this is your fault. He helped Deborah walk to the big soft couch and sat her down gently. Then he knelt in front of her and looked into her eyes. I need you to tell me everything, he said. Every single thing she did. Every word she said. Can you do that? Deborah looked scared. Benjamin, I don't want to make you hate your mother. She raised you. Deborah. Benjamin took her hands. My mother hurt you. She hurt you while you're carrying my child. Nothing is more important than keeping you and our baby safe. Do you understand? You're my family now. You and this baby. That comes first. Always. Deborah started crying again, but this time they were different tears. She had been holding everything inside for so long, and now it was finally coming out. She said the baby wasn't yours, Deborah whispered. She said I trapped you. She said I was worthless and stupid. She said when the baby comes she'll tell everyone terrible lies about me. She said she'll take the baby away from me. Benjamin felt anger rising in his chest like fire. He had never been this angry in his entire life. She grabbed my arms, Deborah continued, showing Benjamin the marks. She pushed me once and I hit the kitchen counter. I was so scared the baby was hurt, but Marina helped me. Another time she came when I was so tired I could barely stand and she made me. Deborah couldn't finish. She was crying too hard. Marina stepped forward. She made Mrs. Deborah clean the entire house on her hands and knees while she watched. Mrs. Deborah was 7 months pregnant, Mr. Benjamin. I tried to help, but Mrs. Naomi sent me away. Mrs. Deborah fainted that day. I had to call a neighbor to help me get her to the couch. Benjamin closed his eyes. He felt sick. All those times he called home and Deborah sounded tired or sad, he should have known. He should have seen it. Why didn't the neighbor tell me? He asked. Mrs. Naomi told the neighbor that Mrs. Deborah just fainted because of the pregnancy, Marina explained. She made it sound normal. And she made Mrs. Deborah promise not to tell you, or else she would make things worse. Benjamin stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the driveway where his mother's car had been parked just minutes ago. He had always obeyed his mother. Always respected her. Always put her first because she raised him alone. But she had crossed a line he didn't even know existed. She hurt Deborah. She threatened his unborn child. She turned his home into a place of fear. That wasn't love. That was control. Benjamin turned back to Deborah. Pack a bag, he said. We're taking you to the hospital to make sure you and the baby are okay. Benjamin, I'm fine. Please, Benjamin said, and his voice cracked a little. Please, Deborah. I need to know you're both safe. I need a doctor to check you. Please. Deborah saw the fear in her husband's eyes and nodded. Marina helped Deborah up the stairs to pack some clothes. Benjamin picked up his phone and called his business partner, James. James? I need the name of that lawyer you used last year. The family lawyer. Sure, Ben. Everything okay? No, Benjamin said quietly. Everything is not okay. But it will be. After he hung up, Benjamin sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. His whole body was shaking. He thought about all the business trips he'd taken. All the times he left Deborah alone. All the times his mother smiled at him and asked about his work while secretly torturing his wife. How could he have been so blind? A few minutes later, Deborah came back downstairs with a small bag. Marina was helping her walk. Benjamin drove them to the hospital. The whole way there he held Deborah's hand. At the hospital, a kind doctor with gray hair examined Deborah. Benjamin waited outside the room, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Finally the doctor came out. Mr. Carter? Your wife and baby are both okay physically. But her blood pressure is very high. That's dangerous this late in pregnancy. What does that mean? Benjamin asked, his heart pounding. It means she's under a lot of stress, the doctor said, looking serious. Stress is very bad for pregnant women. It can make the baby come early. It can cause other problems. Your wife needs rest, peace, and absolutely no stress. Do you understand? Benjamin nodded. I understand. Good. I want to keep her here overnight just to watch her blood pressure. If it stays high, we may need to induce labor early. Benjamin felt his stomach drop. The baby's not due for 3 more weeks. I know, the doctor said gently. But if your wife's blood pressure gets worse, we might not have a choice. The baby would be safer outside than inside. After the doctor left, Benjamin went into Deborah's room. She was lying in a hospital bed, connected to monitors that beeped softly. She looked so small and tired. Benjamin pulled a chair close to the bed and took her hand. I'm staying here with you, he said. Benjamin, you don't have to. Yes, I do, he said firmly. I'm not leaving you alone. Not ever again. Deborah squeezed his hand. What are we going to do about your mother? Benjamin was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I don't know yet. But I know one thing for sure, she's never coming near you again. I don't care what I have to do. You're safe now. I promise. Outside the window, the sun had set completely. The sky was dark. Inside the hospital room, the monitors beeped steadily, counting the baby's heartbeat. Benjamin sat there holding his wife's hand, and he made a silent promise. He had failed to protect her before. He had been blind and stupid. But that would never happen again. Whatever it took, whatever he had to do, he would keep his family safe. Even if it meant losing his mother forever. That night, Benjamin didn't sleep at all. He sat in the uncomfortable hospital chair next to Deborah's bed, watching her sleep. Every few minutes, he would look at the monitors to make sure the baby's heartbeat was still strong and steady. Around midnight, his phone buzzed. It was a text message from his mother. "Benjamin, we need to talk. You're being foolish. That girl has turned you against your own mother. Call me." Benjamin deleted the message without responding. 5 minutes later, another message came. "I sacrificed everything for you. How dare you throw me out like garbage? You owe me respect." Delete. Another message. "Fine. Don't answer. But you'll regret this. I'm your mother. Blood is thicker than water. She's nobody." Benjamin turned off his phone and put it in his pocket. Around 2 in the morning, Deborah woke up. She looked over and saw Benjamin still sitting in the chair, watching her. "You should go home and sleep," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere," Benjamin said, moving his chair closer. "How are you feeling?" "Tired. Scared." Deborah put her hand on her belly. "The baby's been kicking a lot. I think she knows something's wrong." Deborah smiled a little. "I think it's a girl. I don't know why. I just feel it." Benjamin reached over and put his hand on Deborah's belly. As if on cue, the baby kicked. He felt it against his palm, a small, strong push from inside. "She's strong," Benjamin said, his voice full of wonder. "She has to be," Deborah said softly. "With a grandmother like that." Benjamin's face darkened. "My mother is never going to be part of this baby's life. Not after what she did." "Benjamin?" Deborah hesitated. "Are you sure? She's your only family. Your father is gone. Your mother raised you alone. If you cut her off completely, you'll have no one." "That's not true," Benjamin said, looking into Deborah's eyes. "I'll have you. I'll have our baby. I'll have Marina. That's more family than most people ever get." "But what if you regret it later?" Benjamin shook his head. "The only thing I regret is not seeing what was happening sooner. My mother hurt you, Deborah. She hurt you when you were pregnant and vulnerable. She threatened our child. There's no excuse for that. None." A tear rolled down Deborah's cheek. "I was so scared you would choose her over me." "Never," Benjamin said firmly. "You're my wife. You're the mother of my child. You come first. Always. And I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, that I made you feel like you couldn't tell me what was happening. It wasn't your fault." "Yes, it was," Benjamin interrupted. "I should have paid more attention. I should have noticed you were unhappy. I should have asked more questions. I was so busy working, trying to provide for us, that I didn't see what was happening in my own home." They sat in silence for a while, just holding hands. Finally, Deborah asked, "What happens now?" "Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer," Benjamin said. "I'm going to get a restraining order against my mother. That means legally she won't be allowed to come near you or the baby. She'll be so angry." "I don't care," Benjamin said. "Let her be angry. She should have thought about that before she hurt you." Early the next morning, the doctor came back to check on Deborah. Her blood pressure was a little better, but still too high. "I want to keep her one more night," the doctor said. "If her blood pressure doesn't come down by tomorrow, we'll need to think about inducing labor early." Benjamin nodded. "Whatever you think is best, doctor." After the doctor left, Benjamin kissed Deborah's forehead. "I need to go home for a few hours to take care of some things. But Marina will stay here with you. I'll be back this afternoon." "Okay." "Okay," Deborah said. "Be careful." Benjamin drove home. When he walked into the house, everything looked normal, but it felt different now. This place where he thought his family was safe had been a prison for his wife. He went upstairs to his office and made a phone call to the lawyer James had recommended. Her name was Patricia Anderson, and she specialized in family law. "Mr. Carter," Patricia said after Benjamin explained everything. "What your mother did is called domestic abuse. Even though she didn't live in your home, she had access to it, and she repeatedly harmed your wife physically and emotionally. Can I get a restraining order?" Benjamin asked. "Yes. Based on what you've told me, we have a strong case. I'll need statements from your wife, from your housekeeper, and from you. I'll also need photos of your wife's injuries and the hospital records showing her elevated blood pressure." "How long will it take?" "We can file for an emergency restraining order today. That will keep your mother away while we wait for a hearing. The judge will decide if it should be permanent." "Do it," Benjamin said. "Whatever it costs, I don't care. I want my wife and baby protected." "I'll start the paperwork immediately," Patricia said. "One more thing, Mr. Carter. You should know your mother might fight back. People like this often do. She might try to turn other family members against you. She might spread lies. She might even try to cause legal trouble for you. Are you prepared for that? Benjamin thought about his mother's text messages from last night. Yes, he said. I'm prepared. After he hung up, Benjamin sat at his desk for a long time, thinking. His mother had been the center of his life for so long. Every decision he made, he thought about her. Every success he had, he wanted to make her proud. He worked hard to buy her nice things, to take care of her, to show her that her sacrifices weren't for nothing. But now he saw the truth. His mother didn't want him to be happy. She wanted him to be loyal to her, only her. When Benjamin married Deborah, Naomi saw it as betrayal. When Deborah got pregnant, Naomi saw it as someone else stealing Benjamin's attention. His mother's love came with chains. Benjamin heard footsteps on the stairs. Marina appeared in the doorway. Mr. Benjamin? I came back from the hospital to get some of Mrs. Deborah's things. How are you doing? I'm okay, Marina, Benjamin said, though his eyes were red. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why didn't you tell me sooner what my mother was doing? Marina looked down at her hands. I was scared, Mr. Benjamin. I have 3 children. I send money home to them every month. If I lost this job. She trailed off. I understand, Benjamin said. But I need you to do something for me now. I need you to write down everything you saw, every time my mother hurt Deborah, every word you heard, everything. The lawyer needs it for the restraining order. Marina nodded. I'll write it all down. Every single thing. Thank you. And Marina? You'll never lose your job for telling the truth. Never. In fact, I'm giving you a raise. Marina's eyes filled with tears. You don't have to do that, Mr. Benjamin. Yes, I do. You were willing to speak up for my wife when it mattered most. That takes courage. That afternoon, Benjamin returned to the hospital with fresh clothes for Deborah and Marina's written statement. He also brought pictures he'd taken that morning of the marks on Deborah's wrists. The lawyer called while he was driving. Mr. Carter, I've filed the emergency restraining order. Your mother received notice an hour ago. She's not allowed within 500 feet of your home, your wife, or any place your wife regularly goes. What did she say when she got the notice? There was a pause. She was very upset. She called our office 17 times. I finally had to block her number. I see, Benjamin said quietly. Mr. Carter, I need to warn you. She also contacted a lawyer of her own. She's threatening to sue you for, well, several things that don't make much legal sense. But the point is, she's not going quietly. I didn't think she would, Benjamin said. When he got back to the hospital, Deborah was sitting up in bed looking much better. Her color had returned, and she was smiling at something Marina was telling her. Benjamin, she said when she saw him. The doctor said my blood pressure is going down. I might be able to go home tomorrow. Benjamin smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Deborah noticed. What's wrong? She asked. Benjamin told her about the restraining order. He expected her to look relieved. Instead, she looked worried. She's really angry now, Deborah said. Benjamin, your mother isn't the type of person who accepts defeat. She's going to fight back. Let her try, Benjamin said. The law is on our side. But even as he said it, Benjamin felt a cold worry in his stomach. He knew his mother. Deborah was right. Naomi Carter never accepted defeat. Never. And people who don't accept defeat can be very, very dangerous. That night, Benjamin's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. Hello? Benjamin. It was his mother's voice. Cold. Art. You've made a terrible mistake. Mother, you're not supposed to contact me. I don't care about your stupid restraining order. Naomi shouted. You're my son. I gave birth to you. I raised you. And this is how you repay me? By choosing some worthless teacher over your own mother? Deborah is my wife. She's a nobody, a gold digger. And that baby she's carrying probably isn't even yours. Benjamin felt his anger rising. Don't you dare. I'll prove it. Naomi shouted. I'll get a DNA test. I'll expose her. I'll tell everyone what kind of woman she really is. I'll make sure the whole city knows. Benjamin hung up. His hands were shaking. He looked over at Deborah, who had fallen asleep. She looked peaceful now, her face calm, one hand resting on her belly. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, his mother was planning her next move. Benjamin had thought that throwing her out and getting a restraining order would be enough. But now he realized this was just the beginning. His mother was going to war. And he needed to be ready. The next morning, Deborah's blood pressure was much better. The doctor said she could go home, but she needed to rest and stay calm. No stress, Mr. Carter, the doctor said seriously. I mean it. Your wife needs peace and quiet, or we could have real problems. I understand, Benjamin said. He helped Deborah into the car and drove her home carefully, avoiding every bump in the road. Marina had already been to the house and cleaned everything. She'd even put fresh flowers in the bedroom, yellow roses, Deborah's favorite. Thank you, Marina, Deborah said, hugging her. You just rest now, Mrs. Deborah, Marina said. I'll take care of everything. For 2 days things were peaceful. Benjamin didn't go to work. He stayed home with Deborah, bringing her meals in bed, reading to her, and rubbing her swollen feet. They talked about baby names and what color to paint the nursery. For the first time in months, Deborah looked happy. But on the third day, everything changed. Benjamin's phone rang early in the morning. It was his Uncle Robert, his mother's older brother. Benjamin, Uncle Robert's voice was cold. We need to talk. Good morning, Uncle Robert. What's this about? Your mother called me last night. She was crying. She told me you threw her out of your house and got a restraining order against her. What's going on? Benjamin's stomach sank. So it was starting. Uncle Robert, there's a lot you don't know. I know enough, Uncle Robert interrupted. Your mother raised you alone after your father died. She gave up everything for you. And now you're treating her like a criminal because of some girl you married. Deborah is not some girl. She's my wife. And my mother was abusing her. There was a long silence. Then Uncle Robert said, That's a serious accusation, Benjamin. Do you have proof? Yes. I have witness statements, photos, and hospital records. Another silence. I don't believe it. Your mother would never do something like that. She's not that kind of person. I saw it with my own eyes, Benjamin said, his voice rising. I came home early and caught her in the act. Then you must have misunderstood what you saw, Uncle Robert said firmly. Your mother told me what really happened. She went to check on Deborah and found her on the floor. She was trying to help her up when you walked in and jumped to conclusions. Benjamin couldn't believe what he was hearing. That's not what happened at all. Benjamin, you're my nephew and I love you. But you're making a huge mistake. Family is everything. Your mother deserves respect. I think you should apologize to her and drop this restraining order nonsense. I'm not dropping anything, Benjamin said. My mother hurt my pregnant wife. That's not something I'm going to ignore. Fine, Uncle Robert said coldly. Then don't expect any support from the family. If you want to side with an outsider over your own blood, that's your choice. But don't come crying to us when things fall apart. The line went dead. Benjamin sat down heavily on the couch. Deborah came into the room moving slowly. Who was that? She asked. Uncle Robert. My mother got to him first. She's telling everyone her version of the story. Deborah sat down next to him. They're going to believe her, aren't they? Benjamin nodded. Most of them probably will. She's very convincing. And she's been part of their lives a lot longer than you have. I'm sorry, Deborah whispered. This is all my fault. I'm tearing your family apart. No, Benjamin said firmly, taking her hand. My mother did this. Not you. You're the victim here. But even as he said it, Benjamin felt a heavy sadness in his chest. He thought about all his aunts and uncles and cousins. He'd grown up with them. They'd been at his wedding. They'd celebrated his successes. And now, because of his mother's lies, he was losing them. The phone rang again. This time it was his Aunt Patricia, his father's sister. Benjamin Carter, I am so disappointed in you, she said without even saying hello. Your mother is heartbroken. How could you treat her this way? Benjamin tried to explain, but Aunt Patricia wouldn't listen. She hung up on him mid-sentence. Then his cousin Marcus called. Then his cousin Jennifer. Then his mother's best friend from church. One by one they called to tell him he was wrong, that he was ungrateful, that he was breaking his mother's heart. No one wanted to hear his side of the story. By noon, Benjamin had received 15 calls and twice as many text messages. All of them were angry. All of them sided with his mother. Only 2 people reached out to support him. One was his business partner, James. The other was his cousin Sarah, who lived in another state. Ben, I believe you, Sarah said when she called. I've always thought Aunt Naomi was controlling. I'm sorry this is happening. Thank you, Benjamin said, his voice cracking a little. You have no idea how much that means. That afternoon something even worse happened. There was a knock at the front door. Benjamin opened it to find 2 people standing there, a woman with a briefcase and a man with a notebook. Mr. Carter? The woman said. I'm Jennifer Walsh from Child Protective Services. This is Officer Martinez. "We've received a report about this household and we need to speak with you and your wife." Benjamin's blood turned cold. "A report? What kind of report?" "We've been told that your wife is being kept in dangerous conditions, that she's being isolated, and that there are concerns about the safety of the unborn child." "What? That's insane. Who told you that?" "We can't reveal our sources, Mr. Carter." "May we come in?" Benjamin had no choice. He let them inside. Deborah came down the stairs carefully, her eyes wide with fear. For the next hour, the woman from Child Protective Services asked them questions. She wanted to see the whole house. She looked in the refrigerator. She checked the bedroom. She asked Deborah if Benjamin ever hurt her, if she was allowed to leave the house, if she had access to money. "No, no, no," Deborah kept saying, tears streaming down her face. "Benjamin is wonderful. He takes care of me. I'm not in danger." "Then why are you crying?" the woman asked. "Because this is terrifying," Deborah said. "Someone is lying about us. Someone called you and made up horrible stories." The woman made notes in her file. Benjamin knew who had made the report. It had to be his mother. Finally, after looking at everything and asking 100 questions, the woman said, "Everything appears to be in order here. I don't see any signs of abuse or neglect. However, we'll be keeping this case open for monitoring." "Monitoring?" Benjamin said. "For how long?" "Until after the baby is born and we can do a follow-up visit. Standard procedure when there's been a report." After they left, Deborah collapsed on the couch, sobbing. "I can't take this, Benjamin. I can't. This stress is going to hurt the baby." Benjamin held her, feeling helpless and furious at the same time. His mother was using the system against them. She knew that Child Protective Services had to investigate every report. She knew it would scare Deborah. She knew it would cause stress. She was weaponizing everything she could. The lawyer, Patricia Anderson, called an hour later. "Mr. Carter, I heard what happened. Your mother is playing dirty. But here's the good news. False reports to Child Protective Services are illegal. If we can prove she made that call knowing it was false, we can use it against her in court." "Can we prove it?" Benjamin asked. "We'll try. In the meantime, I'm going to request an emergency hearing for the permanent restraining order. The judge needs to hear about this escalation." That night, Benjamin couldn't eat dinner. He sat at the table, staring at his plate while Marina and Deborah watched him with worried eyes. "Mr. Benjamin," Marina said gently, "you need to eat. You need to stay strong." "I'm fine," Benjamin said, but he wasn't fine. He was exhausted, overwhelmed. His phone kept buzzing with angry messages from family members. His mother was spreading lies to everyone who would listen. And now Child Protective Services was watching them. Deborah reached across the table and took his hand. "We'll get through this," she said. "Together." Benjamin looked at his wife. Her face was pale and tired. Her belly was so big now that she could barely move around comfortably. She was supposed to be resting and staying calm. Instead, she was dealing with all the stress. And it was all because of him. Because he chose her. Because he stood up to his mother. "I'm sorry," Benjamin said. "I'm so sorry you have to go through this." "Don't be sorry," Deborah said. "You did the right thing. Your mother is the one who should be sorry." But Naomi Carter wasn't sorry. She was angry. And she wasn't finished fighting. The next morning, Benjamin received a letter in the mail. It was from a law firm he didn't recognize. Inside was a legal document. His mother was suing him. She was suing him for elder abuse and emotional distress. She claimed that Benjamin had physically thrown her out of his house, that he had threatened her, and that the restraining order was based on lies. She was asking for $500,000 in damages. Benjamin showed the letter to his lawyer. Patricia Anderson read it and shook her head. "This is ridiculous. None of these claims will hold up in court. But it's going to cost you time and money to fight it. That's what she wants, to drain your resources and make your life miserable." "So what do I do?" Benjamin asked. "We fight back. We file a countersuit for harassment and the false Child Protective Services report. We go to the hearing for the permanent restraining order and show the judge exactly what kind of person your mother is." "When is the hearing?" "Next week. In the meantime, document everything. Every phone call, every text message, every contact from family members. Everything." Benjamin went home and told Deborah about the lawsuit. She didn't cry this time. She just looked tired. "Your mother really hates me," Deborah said quietly. "No," Benjamin said. "She hates that she can't control me anymore. This isn't really about you. It's about power." That night, Benjamin lay in bed next to Deborah, listening to her breathe. She was finally asleep after hours of tossing and turning. Her hand rested on her belly, protecting the baby even in sleep. Benjamin thought about his mother. He remembered her working 2 jobs when he was little. He remembered her sitting with him at the kitchen table, helping him with homework. He remembered her crying happy tears when he graduated from college. Where had that mother gone? When did love turn into control? When did protection turn into possession? He didn't have answers. All he knew was that the woman who raised him was now trying to destroy his life. And he had to find a way to stop her before she succeeded. The days that followed were the hardest of Benjamin's life. Every morning, he woke up to new text messages from family members telling him he was a terrible son. His mother's friends from church started calling his business, leaving bad reviews online, saying he was cruel and ungrateful. His 3 computer stores began losing customers. People who had known his mother for years stopped shopping there. They believed her story, that Benjamin had abandoned her, that he was being controlled by his wife, that he had become a different person. Benjamin's business partner, James, came to the house one afternoon to talk. "Ben, I'm worried about you," James said. "The stores are struggling. You haven't been to work in 2 weeks. I know you're dealing with family stuff, but—" "I know," Benjamin said, rubbing his tired eyes. "I'm sorry, James. I'll figure something out." "It's not about the money," James said gently. "I'm worried about you. You look exhausted. When's the last time you slept through the night?" Benjamin couldn't remember. Every night he lay awake worrying. Worrying about Deborah. Worrying about the baby. Worrying about the court hearing. Worrying about losing everything he'd built. "I'll be okay," Benjamin lied. But he wasn't okay. And things were about to get worse. 3 days before the court hearing, Deborah's mother called. Her name was Ruth, and she had always been kind to Benjamin. She lived in a small apartment across town and worked as a seamstress. "Benjamin," Ruth's voice sounded cold. "I need to talk to you about my daughter." "Of course, Ruth. Is everything okay?" "No, everything is not okay. I got a call yesterday from Naomi." Benjamin's heart sank. "What did she tell you?" "She told me that Deborah is lying about what happened. She said you're forcing Deborah to say these things. She said you're controlling her and keeping her away from her family." "Ruth, that's not true." "None of it is true." "Then why hasn't Deborah called me in 3 weeks?" Ruth asked, her voice rising. "Why hasn't she answered my messages? If you're not controlling her, why can't I talk to my own daughter?" Benjamin felt confused. "Ruth, I didn't know you were trying to reach her. Deborah has her phone. She can call anyone she wants." "Well, she's not calling me," Ruth said, starting to cry. "Naomi showed me text messages that Deborah supposedly sent, saying she doesn't want to see me anymore. She said I wasn't supportive enough during her pregnancy." "What? Deborah would never say that." "Then who sent those messages?" Ruth demanded. Benjamin went cold. "Ruth, I think my mother is pretending to be Deborah. She must have gotten Deborah's phone number and—" "Oh, please," Ruth interrupted. "Now you're saying Naomi is pretending to be my daughter? That's ridiculous. I think the truth is that you've turned Deborah against her own mother." "Ruth, please listen." But Ruth had already hung up. Benjamin ran upstairs to the bedroom where Deborah was resting. "Deborah, have you talked to your mother lately?" Deborah looked up from her book. "I tried calling her last week, but she didn't answer. I left a voicemail." "Why?" "She just called me. She said you've been ignoring her and that you sent her messages saying you don't want to see her anymore." Deborah's face went pale. "I never sent any messages like that. I would never say I don't want to see my mother." Benjamin pulled out his phone and called his lawyer. "Patricia, my mother is impersonating my wife now. She's sending fake text messages to Deborah's mother, pretending to be Deborah." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "That's identity fraud. That's a crime, Mr. Carter. If we can prove it, your mother could face criminal charges." "How do we prove it?" "We need to see those text messages. Can you get Deborah's mother to forward them to us?" Benjamin tried calling Ruth back, but she wouldn't answer. He left 3 voicemails, but she never called back. That night, Deborah cried for hours. "My own mother thinks I abandoned her," she sobbed. "Your mother is turning everyone against us. Everyone." Benjamin held her, feeling helpless. He wanted to fix this. He wanted to make it all go away. But he didn't know how. The next morning, something happened that made everything even worse. Benjamin was in the kitchen making breakfast when he heard a loud gasp from upstairs. Then he heard Deborah scream. He ran up the stairs 2 at a time. "Deborah? What's wrong?" Deborah was in the bathroom holding onto the sink. Water was pooling on the floor around her feet. "My water broke," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Benjamin, the baby's coming. It's too early. The baby's not supposed to come for 2 more weeks. Benjamin felt panic rising in his chest. Okay. It's going to be okay. Let me call the doctor. He called the hospital with shaking hands. The nurse told him to bring Deborah in right away. Marina helped Deborah get dressed while Benjamin grabbed the hospital bag they'd packed weeks ago. His hands were trembling so badly he could barely hold the car keys. The drive to the hospital felt like it took forever, even though it was only 10 minutes. Deborah was having contractions, painful squeezes that made her cry out and grip Benjamin's hand. It hurts, she whimpered. Benjamin, it hurts so much. I know, sweetheart. We're almost there. Just breathe. At the hospital, nurses rushed Deborah into a delivery room. The doctor came quickly, a serious look on her face. Mrs. Carter, your water broke early because of your high blood pressure. We're going to have to deliver the baby now. It's safer for both of you. But it's too early. Deborah cried. What if something's wrong with the baby? The baby is 38 weeks, the doctor said calmly. That's close enough to full term. Most babies born at 38 weeks are perfectly healthy. But we need to get started now. The next few hours were a blur for Benjamin. He stood by Deborah's side, holding her hand as she labored. She squeezed his hand so hard he thought his bones might break, but he didn't complain. Deborah was in so much pain. She cried. She screamed. She begged for it to stop. I can't do this, she sobbed at one point. Benjamin, I can't. It hurts too much. Yes, you can, Benjamin said, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth. You're the strongest person I know. You can do this. I'm scared, Deborah whispered. What if the baby's not okay? What if all this stress hurt her? She's going to be fine, Benjamin said, trying to sound confident even though he was terrified inside. She's a fighter just like her mother. Hour after hour passed. The doctor and nurses came and went, checking on Deborah's progress. Outside the window, the sun set and darkness fell over the city. Benjamin's phone buzzed in his pocket several times, but he ignored it. Nothing else mattered right now. Only Deborah and the baby. Finally, around midnight, the doctor said, It's time. Mrs. Carter, I need you to push. What happened next was the most intense, frightening, and beautiful thing Benjamin had ever witnessed. Deborah pushed with everything she had. Her face turned red. Sweat poured down her forehead. She screamed and cried and pushed and pushed. I can see the head, the doctor said. One more big push, Mrs. Carter. Deborah squeezed Benjamin's hand one last time and pushed with all her remaining strength. And then, suddenly, there was a new sound in the room. A baby crying. It's a girl, the doctor announced, holding up a tiny, wriggling baby covered in blood and fluid. You have a daughter. Benjamin felt tears pouring down his face. He couldn't stop them. He didn't even try. The nurses cleaned the baby quickly and placed her on Deborah's chest. Deborah was crying too, looking down at the tiny person she just brought into the world. The baby was so small. Her skin was pink and wrinkled. Her eyes were squeezed shut. Her little fists waved in the air as she cried. Hello, baby, Deborah whispered, her voice full of wonder. Hello, little one. I'm your mama. Benjamin leaned down and gently touched his daughter's tiny hand. Her fingers wrapped around his thumb, holding tight. She's perfect, he whispered. She's absolutely perfect. The doctor checked the baby carefully. She's small but healthy. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. All her fingers and toes are there. Her lungs are strong, we can definitely hear that. Benjamin laughed through his tears. His daughter's cries were the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. After the nurses cleaned and weighed the baby, they wrapped her in a soft pink blanket and gave her back to Deborah. The baby had stopped crying now. She was looking around with dark, curious eyes. What should we name her? Deborah asked, smiling down at their daughter. Benjamin thought for a moment. He thought about everything they'd been through. He thought about the one person who had stood up and told the truth when it mattered most. Marina, he said. Let's name her Marina. Deborah looked up at him, tears shining in her eyes. After our Marina? She saved you, Benjamin said. She spoke up when no one else would. She told the truth. Our daughter should be named after someone that brave. Deborah smiled. Marina Rose Carter. It's perfect. Benjamin looked down at his daughter, Marina Rose Carter. She was so tiny, so fragile, so innocent. She had no idea what kind of chaos she'd been born into. But she was here. She was healthy. She was safe. And Benjamin made a silent promise to her in that moment. He promised that he would protect her from everything. He would never let anyone hurt her the way his mother had hurt Deborah. He would make sure she grew up knowing she was loved and safe, no matter what it cost him. Around 2 in the morning, Marina the housekeeper arrived at the hospital. Benjamin had texted her with the news. When she walked into the room and saw the baby, she started crying. "You named her after me?" Marina said, covering her mouth with her hands. "Yes," Deborah said, smiling tiredly. "You were brave when we needed bravery. Thank you, Marina, for everything." Marina held the baby carefully, rocking her gently. "She's beautiful. So beautiful." Benjamin stepped out of the room to call his business partner and let him know about the baby. When he checked his phone, he saw he had 23 missed calls and 37 text messages. Most were from family members who had heard Deborah went into labor. They wanted to know if the baby was okay. But they also wanted to know if Benjamin was going to let his mother meet her grandchild. One message stood out from the rest. It was from his mother. "I heard the baby came early because of stress. That's your fault, Benjamin. You stressed out that girl with your controlling behavior. I hope you're happy. When this is all over and the truth comes out, everyone will know what kind of man you really are. You'll lose everything." Benjamin felt anger burning in his chest. Even now, even on the night his daughter was born, his mother couldn't stop attacking him. He blocked her number. Then he blocked every family member who had been sending him cruel messages. He was done explaining himself. Done defending his choices. Done trying to make people understand. From now on, only people who supported his family would be part of their lives. Everyone else could believe whatever they wanted. Benjamin went back into the hospital room. Deborah was asleep, exhausted from labor. Baby Marina was sleeping too, her tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Benjamin sat down in the chair next to the bed and watched them both sleep. His wife, his daughter, his family. Outside, somewhere in the city, his mother was probably making plans for her next attack. The court hearing was in 2 days. The lawsuit was still pending. The family was still divided. But none of that mattered right now. Right now, in this quiet hospital room, Benjamin had everything that mattered. And he was finally learning what love really meant. Love wasn't control. It wasn't manipulation. It wasn't making people choose between you and their happiness. Love was protection. Love was sacrifice. Love was putting someone else's needs before your own pride. His mother had raised him, yes. But she had confused love with ownership. Benjamin would not make that same mistake with Marina. He would love her freely. He would protect her fiercely. And he would never, ever make her feel like she owed him something for being her father. As the sun began to rise outside the hospital window, painting the sky pink and gold, Benjamin finally fell asleep in the chair. He dreamed of a future where his daughter was safe, happy, and free. And he woke up determined to make that dream come true. Deborah and baby Marina stayed in the hospital for 2 days. During that time, Benjamin hardly left their side. He changed diapers, learned how to swaddle the baby, and helped Deborah with feeding. On the 3rd day, the doctor said they could go home. "Remember," the doctor told Deborah, "you need rest. Your body just went through something very difficult. And your blood pressure is still higher than I'd like. No stress, lots of sleep, and call me if anything feels wrong." Benjamin drove home very slowly, checking the rearview mirror every few seconds to look at Marina sleeping in her car seat. She was so tiny. So fragile. He felt like the whole world was made of glass and one wrong move could shatter everything. When they pulled into the driveway, Marina the housekeeper was waiting at the door with flowers and a big smile. "Welcome home," she said, helping Deborah out of the car. "I made soup and cleaned the whole house. Everything is ready for you." Benjamin carried the baby inside in her car seat. The house felt different now. Quieter. More peaceful. Like it had been waiting for Marina to arrive. That night, Benjamin sat in the nursery rocking his daughter while she slept. The room was painted soft yellow with white curtains. There was a wooden crib, a changing table, and shelves full of books they would read to her someday. Deborah came to the doorway moving slowly. "You should sleep," she said. "You've been awake for almost 3 days." "I can't," Benjamin said softly. "Every time I close my eyes I think about the court hearing tomorrow. What if it doesn't go well? What if the judge doesn't believe us?" "Then we'll deal with it," Deborah said, coming to sit beside him. "But Benjamin, you can't control everything. All we can do is tell the truth." "What if the truth isn't enough?" Deborah put her head on his shoulder. "Then at least we'll know we tried. And no matter what happens, we have each other. We have Marina. Your mother can't take that away from us." Benjamin kissed the top of Deborah's head. "I love you. I don't say it enough, but I love you so much." "I love you too." They sat there together in the quiet nursery, holding their sleeping daughter, preparing for whatever tomorrow would bring. The next morning Benjamin put on his best suit. Deborah wanted to come to the hearing, but the lawyer advised against it. The judge might see you with the baby and think you're trying to gain sympathy, Patricia explained. It's better if you stay home. Benjamin can represent both of you. So Deborah stayed home with Marina and Marina the housekeeper, while Benjamin drove to the courthouse downtown. His hands were sweaty on the steering wheel. His heart was pounding. The courthouse was a big gray building with marble floors and high ceilings. Everything echoed. Benjamin met Patricia in the lobby and she walked him through what would happen. Your mother will be there with her lawyer, Patricia said. They'll present their side. We'll present ours. The judge will decide whether to make the restraining order permanent. Just answer the questions honestly and stay calm, no matter what your mother says. Okay, Benjamin said, though he didn't feel calm at all. They walked into the courtroom. It was smaller than Benjamin expected, with wooden benches and fluorescent lights. At one table sat his mother with her lawyer, a tall man in an expensive suit. Naomi was dressed elegantly as always, wearing a dark dress with pearls. When Benjamin walked in, she looked at him with cold eyes. No love. No warmth. Just anger. Benjamin sat down next to Patricia at their table. His mother was only 15 feet away, but it felt like they were on different planets. All rise, said the bailiff. The Honorable Judge Williams presiding. An older woman in black robes entered and sat at the high desk at the front of the room. She had gray hair pulled back in a bun and serious eyes. Please be seated, Judge Williams said. We're here today regarding case number 2026-4732, Carter versus Carter, petition for a permanent restraining order. Let's begin with the petitioner's side. Ms. Anderson? Patricia stood up. Thank you, Your Honor. My client, Benjamin Carter, is seeking a permanent restraining order against his mother, Naomi Carter, due to ongoing abuse and harassment of his wife, Deborah Carter. Patricia presented all the evidence. She showed the photos of the marks on Deborah's wrists. She showed the hospital records documenting Deborah's high blood pressure and early labor. She read Marina's witness statement aloud, describing every incident she had seen. Then Patricia explained the harassment that had happened after Benjamin confronted his mother. The false Child Protective Services report, the lawsuit, the manipulation of family members, and the identity fraud. Judge Williams listened carefully, taking notes. When Patricia finished, Naomi's lawyer stood up. His name was Mr. Reynolds and he had a smooth, confident voice. Your Honor, he began, what we have here is a tragic misunderstanding. Mrs. Naomi Carter is a devoted mother who raised her son alone after her husband's death. She made enormous sacrifices for Benjamin. She worked multiple jobs, went without, all so he could have opportunities. Mr. Reynolds walked around the courtroom as he spoke, like he was telling a story. Now, after all those years of sacrifice, Benjamin married a woman his mother was concerned about. Not because of prejudice, Your Honor, but because she genuinely worried that this marriage happened too quickly. When Benjamin's wife became pregnant, Mrs. Carter tried to be supportive. She visited the home to help, to offer guidance. That's not true, Benjamin whispered to Patricia. Let him finish, Patricia whispered back. We'll get our turn. Mr. Reynolds continued. But Benjamin's wife misinterpreted Mrs. Carter's attempts to help as interference. Small disagreements were blown out of proportion. And when Benjamin came home and saw a tense moment between the two women, he jumped to conclusions. The lawyer pulled out his own stack of papers. Your Honor, I have here testimony from 15 family members and friends who describe Mrs. Carter as kind, generous, and loving. They all say this restraining order is unjust and that Benjamin has been manipulated by his wife into turning against his own mother. Benjamin felt anger rising in his chest. His mother's lawyer was making him sound like a fool, like he couldn't think for himself. Judge Williams looked at the papers. What about the allegations of harassment? The Child Protective Services report, the lawsuit, the contact with family members. Mr. Reynolds smiled. Mrs. Carter made the Child Protective Services report because she was genuinely concerned about her daughter-in-law's well-being. She heard that Deborah was stressed and thought there might be issues in the home. It wasn't malicious, it was maternal concern. As for the lawsuit, Mrs. Carter has every right to seek justice after being publicly humiliated and thrown out of her son's house. And the contact with family members? The judge asked. She's simply sharing her side of the story with people who care about her. Is a mother not allowed to seek emotional support from her own family? Judge Williams turned to Benjamin. Mr. Carter, I'd like to hear from you directly. Can you tell me in your own words, what happened the day you found your mother in your home with your wife? Benjamin stood up. His legs felt shaky. He took a deep breath. Your Honor, I came home early from a business trip to surprise my wife. When I walked in, I saw my wife on her knees on the floor, soaking wet and crying. There was an empty glass on the floor. My mother was standing over her, yelling at her. I saw marks on my wife's wrists where someone had grabbed her. And what did you do? The judge asked. I asked my mother to leave. She refused at first, so I had to insist. That's when my housekeeper, Marina, came forward and told me this had been happening for months every time I went away on business trips. Did you witness any of this abuse yourself before that day? Benjamin hesitated. No, Your Honor. My wife never told me. She was trying to protect me from having to choose between her and my mother. Judge Williams made a note. Mr. Carter, do you have any evidence besides your housekeeper's testimony and your wife's word? The hospital records show my wife's dangerously high blood pressure, Your Honor. The stress from the abuse caused her to go into early labor. Our daughter was born 2 weeks early because of what my mother did. Congratulations on the birth, Judge Williams said. But early labor can have many causes. Medical records showing high blood pressure don't prove abuse, Mr. Carter. They prove stress, yes, but not necessarily where that stress came from. Benjamin felt his hopes sinking. The judge didn't believe him. Mr. Reynolds saw his opportunity. Your Honor, may I point out that my client's grandchild was just born? She hasn't even been allowed to meet the baby. She's being punished for something she didn't do, and she's missing precious moments with her grandchild because of false accusations. Your Honor, Patricia stood up quickly. Mrs. Carter sent threatening text messages to my client. She called him repeatedly despite being asked to stop. She filed false reports with Child Protective Services. This is a pattern of harassment and— Ms. Anderson, Judge Williams interrupted. Do you have proof that the Child Protective Services report was false? The investigation found no issues, Your Honor. That doesn't mean the report was made in bad faith. It could have been genuine concern. Benjamin felt sick. This wasn't going well. The judge was believing his mother's side. Patricia tried again. Your Honor, we also have evidence that Mrs. Carter impersonated her daughter-in-law by sending text messages to Deborah's mother, pretending to be Deborah. Do you have those messages? The judge asked. Deborah's mother won't share them with us, Your Honor. She believes Mrs. Carter's version of events. Judge Williams frowned. So you're alleging identity fraud but have no evidence? The housekeeper witnessed. The housekeeper's testimony is hearsay, Ms. Anderson. She didn't witness any text messages being sent. Benjamin watched as everything fell apart. His mother's lawyer had been smart. He'd admitted to just enough. Yes, there was tension. Yes, Naomi visited. Yes, there were disagreements, but he'd framed everything as misunderstandings and maternal concern. And without concrete proof, without video or recordings, it came down to whose story sounded more believable. A devoted mother who sacrificed everything for her son? Or a young wife who wanted to separate a man from his family? Benjamin could see which story the judge was leaning toward. After another 30 minutes of arguments, Judge Williams held up her hand for silence. I've heard enough, she said. Here's my ruling. The courtroom went completely silent. Benjamin held his breath. Judge Williams looked directly at Naomi. Mrs. Carter, I've reviewed all the evidence presented today. The photographs of bruises, the witness testimony from the housekeeper, the hospital records showing dangerous levels of stress in a pregnant woman, and the pattern of behavior following the initial incident, including the false report to Child Protective Services and the frivolous lawsuit, all paint a very clear picture. Benjamin felt hope rising in his chest. What I see, the judge continued, is a pattern of control and manipulation. You may have sacrificed for your son when he was young, Mrs. Carter, but that does not give you the right to abuse his wife. Sacrifice does not equal ownership. Your son is an adult with his own family now, and your actions have been harmful and dangerous. Naomi's face went pale. The evidence shows that your actions directly contributed to Mrs. Deborah Carter's early labor. You filed a false report with Child Protective Services, which is a crime. You have harassed your son and daughter-in-law through third parties. This is not maternal concern. This is abuse. Judge Williams picked up her gavel. I am granting the permanent restraining order. Mrs. Naomi Carter, you are hereby ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from Benjamin Carter, Deborah Carter, their child, and their home. You are not to contact them directly or indirectly through phone, email, text, social media, or through other people. Any violation of this order will result in your immediate arrest. Do you understand? Naomi stood up, shaking. Your Honor, please. Do you understand? The judge repeated firmly. Yes, Naomi whispered, tears running down her face. But they were angry tears, not sad ones. Furthermore, Judge Williams said, I am referring the False Child Protective Services report to the District Attorney's Office for possible criminal charges. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a loud bang. It was over. Benjamin sat frozen for a moment, unable to believe what he'd just heard. Then Patricia grabbed his arm, smiling. You won, she said. Benjamin, you won. Benjamin looked across the room at his mother. She was standing with her lawyer, her face twisted with rage. She stared at Benjamin with such hatred that he actually felt afraid for a moment. Then she turned and walked out of the courtroom, her heels clicking angrily on the marble floor. Benjamin's hands were shaking. Is it really over? The restraining order is permanent, Patricia said. She can't come near you or your family anymore. She tries, she goes to jail. You're safe now. Benjamin felt tears in his eyes. Thank you. Thank you so much. He walked out of the courthouse into the bright sunshine. The world looked different somehow. Lighter. Brighter. Like a heavy weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He called Deborah from the car. We won, he said, his voice breaking. The judge ruled in our favor. The restraining order is permanent. Deborah started crying on the other end of the phone. Really? Oh, Benjamin. Really? Really? She can't hurt you anymore. It's over. When Benjamin got home, Deborah was waiting at the door with baby Marina in her arms. She was crying and smiling at the same time. Benjamin hugged them both, careful not to squish the baby. We're safe, Deborah whispered. We're finally safe. That night, for the first time in months, they all slept peacefully. The weeks that followed were strange. Benjamin kept expecting his phone to ring with angry messages from his mother or relatives. But the phone stayed quiet. The restraining order had sent a clear message to the family. Some of them, the ones who had been the loudest in supporting Naomi, stayed away completely. They believed Benjamin was wrong, and they chose Naomi's side. Benjamin was sad about losing them, but he also felt relieved. He'd rather have no family than family that hurt the people he loved. Baby Marina grew bigger every day. She learned to smile, and her little laugh was the most beautiful sound in the world. Deborah's health improved. Her blood pressure went back to normal. The fear slowly left her eyes. Marina the housekeeper became more than just an employee. She was part of their family now. She held the baby while Deborah napped. She cooked meals and told funny stories that made everyone laugh. The baby would reach for her with tiny hands, and Marina's face would light up with joy. You're not just our housekeeper anymore, Benjamin told her one day. You're Marina's godmother. Your family. Marina cried happy tears. I never had my own family, she said. My children are grown and far away. Being here with you, it's a blessing. One afternoon, about 6 weeks after the court hearing, Benjamin's doorbell rang. When he opened it, he was shocked to see Deborah's mother, Ruth, standing there with tears in her eyes. Benjamin, Ruth said quietly. May I come in? Benjamin hesitated, then stepped aside. Of course. Ruth walked into the living room where Deborah was sitting on the couch with baby Marina. When Deborah saw her mother, she stood up quickly. Mom? Deborah, Ruth's voice broke. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Ruth walked over and knelt down in front of her daughter. I believed Naomi's lies. I thought you had abandoned me. I thought Benjamin was controlling you. But then I heard about the court case and I talked to some people who were there and I realized I had been so wrong. Deborah started crying. Mom, I tried to call you. I never sent those messages saying I didn't want to see you. I know that now, Ruth said, crying too. Naomi tricked me. She pretended to be you. And I fell for it. I'm your mother. I should have known better. I should have trusted you. It's okay, Mom? No, it's not okay, Ruth interrupted. I failed you when you needed me most. You were being abused and I sided with your abuser. Can you ever forgive me? Deborah pulled her mother into a hug. Of course I forgive you. You're my mom. I love you. They held each other and cried for a long time. Then Ruth looked down at baby Marina. Is this my granddaughter? Yes, Deborah said, smiling through her tears. This is Marina. Would you like to hold her? Ruth took the baby carefully, looking down at her with wonder. She's beautiful. She looks just like you did when you were born. From that day on, Ruth visited every week. She brought gifts for the baby and helped Deborah around the house. She and Marina the housekeeper became friends, cooking together and sharing stories. Slowly, other family members began to reach out too. Benjamin's cousin Sarah, who had supported him from the beginning, came to visit with her husband and kids. His business partner James brought his wife to meet the baby. A few of his aunts and uncles who had stayed quiet during the conflict, not taking sides, tentatively called to apologize and ask if they could rebuild relationships. "We should have spoken up sooner," his Uncle Thomas said on the phone. "We knew your mother could be controlling, but we never imagined it was this bad. We're sorry we didn't support you." Benjamin forgave them, but he was also careful. "You're welcome to visit," he told them. "But if anyone brings my mother into my home or shares information about my family with her, they're done. No second chances." They all agreed to his terms. The family that remained was smaller. Many relatives still sided with Naomi and refused to speak to Benjamin. Some family gatherings that Benjamin used to attend no longer included him. But the family he had now was real. They were people who chose love over control. People who stood up for what was right even when it was hard. One evening, about 3 months after the court hearing, Benjamin came home from work to find Deborah sitting at the kitchen table with a letter in her hand. She looked pale. "What's wrong?" Benjamin asked, his heart immediately racing. "Is it the baby? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Deborah said. "But, this came in the mail today. It's from your mother." Benjamin felt his stomach drop. "What does it say?" Deborah handed him the letter. Benjamin sat down and read it. "Dear Benjamin and Deborah, I am writing this letter from a therapist's office. I have been coming here twice a week for the past 2 months. My therapist suggested I write to you, though she warned me that you might not read it or respond. But I needed to try. I want you to know that I am not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve your forgiveness. What I did to you, Deborah, was cruel and wrong. What I did to you, Benjamin, was a betrayal of everything a mother should be. For months, I have been sitting in therapy trying to understand why I acted the way I did. My therapist helped me see something I didn't want to see. I was terrified of losing Benjamin. When his father died, Benjamin became my whole world. I convinced myself that if he loved someone else, he wouldn't love me anymore. That fear turned into anger. And that anger turned into cruelty. I tried to drive you away, Deborah, because I thought if you were gone, Benjamin would need me again. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. The judge was right. Sacrifice does not equal ownership. Just because I raised Benjamin doesn't mean I own him. He's an adult with his own family now, and I should have celebrated that instead of trying to destroy it. I'm writing to tell you that I am in therapy and I am working on myself. I am learning about control, manipulation, and the damage I've caused. I am learning to let go. I'm not asking to see you or the baby. I know I have no right to that. I'm not asking you to drop the restraining order. You need to feel safe, and I understand that. I'm simply asking you to know that I am truly deeply sorry, and that I am trying to become a better person. If someday, many years from now, you decide that I have changed enough to be part of your lives again, I will be grateful beyond words. But if that day never comes, I will understand. I will live with the consequences of my choices. I hope Marina is healthy and happy. I hope Deborah has recovered from everything I put her through. And I hope Benjamin knows that despite everything, I did love him. I just loved him in the wrong way. With deep regret. Naomi. Benjamin put the letter down. His hands were shaking. "What do you think?" Deborah asked quietly. "I don't know," Benjamin said honestly. "Part of me wants to believe she's really changing. But another part of me remembers everything she did and thinks this might just be another manipulation." "She's in therapy," Deborah pointed out. "That's something." "Yes. But therapy doesn't erase what happened. And saying sorry doesn't mean we have to let her back into our lives." They sat in silence for a while, thinking. Finally, Deborah said, "I'm not ready to see her. Maybe I never will be. But I'm glad she's getting help. Not for us, for her." "Me too," Benjamin agreed. "And maybe someday if she really changes, if she proves over years that she's different, maybe then we can talk about limited contact. But right now the answer is no. We need to protect our family." "Our family," Deborah repeated, smiling a little. "I like the sound of that." Benjamin folded the letter and put it in a drawer. He didn't throw it away, but he didn't respond to it either. The restraining order would stay in place. The boundaries would remain firm. His mother's apology was a step. But it was only a first step. Real change took time. Years maybe. And Benjamin wasn't going to risk his wife and daughter's safety based on words alone. Actions mattered. Time mattered. Proof mattered. For now the answer was no. But the door wasn't locked forever. Just closed. With very strong locks. That might open someday, if his mother earned it. Or might stay closed forever. And that was okay too. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.